Using Arweave can be kind of daunting, right? Even without using the CLI, because Web3 is a lot of engineering, a lot of coding. And you as an artist, you have those skills and you're willing to figure it out. But it's good to hear that it only took like an hour and a half to move the stuff over. So that means it's working.
Yeah, for sure. And, for me, it's relatively easy because I have a small collection.
You're tuned to the ArCast, where we talk about the blockchain on the ArCast and how your data remains the ArCast, where ArDrive is the topic, censorship resistant permanence. Yeah, we got it. You're listening to the ArCast. This is episode 21 with Xavi Zedd, who is an NFT artist who did the Dragon Turtles, which was our collab with the Ever Finance team. You may have seen that. It was pretty exciting. He now has a new project called Tar and Sugar, and he explains a lot about his artistic inspiration, the NFT community, how he used ArDrive to back up his work. And it's a pretty interesting interview. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Mina, who are our cryptocurrency accounting friends in the UK. Be sure to keep following us on Twitter because Anthony's been posting some cool ArDrive facts. We're posting a lot of stuff on TikTok these days, and Inferno is still blazing. So if you upload that flavor, you'll be an ArDrive token saver. Okay. So anyway, here's my interview with Xavi on the ArCast. Xavi, thank you for having time to talk. You've been super helpful with educating the community about permanence and NFT art. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm a big fan of Arweave, of ArDrive, everything that you're doing in the space, providing an alternative, a Web3 alternative to IPFS and the various apps that are built on it. So it's really exciting to be here. Thank you.
How did you discover Arweave in the first place?
So Arweave was one of the first blockchain technologies that I heard about just through online news, just learning about the concept of having a permaweb that would store censored articles through the permaweb or create a repository of information about the war in the Ukraine. A lot of these headline articles were really intriguing to me. And, I knew some people that were involved with ArDrive. Your current director of design is a friend in real life. So that was kind of my portal into it. And yeah, it's been, it's not an easy transition to move from the sort of Web 2 storage world into Web 3. There's just a few little things that I think make the user experience there's just a tiny bit of friction, but to the extent possible, I think that ArDrive has eliminated, probably 95% of that friction. And so it actually was fairly easy. It took me and I'm not particularly technical, but it probably only took me maybe an hour and a half to figure out how to move my stuff over from Pinata to ArDrive.
Using Arweave can be kind of daunting, right? Even without using the CLI, because Web3 is a lot of engineering, a lot of coding, and you as an artist, you have those skills and you're willing to figure it out. But it's good to hear that it only took like an hour and a half to move the stuff over. So that means it's working.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, it's relatively easy because I have a small collection. I'm not dealing with heaps of metadata, heaps of JSON files. And I think as the tools progress, some tools that might come out that the community might develop include things like an automated process for pulling metadata from IPFS onto Arweave, for example, and just more of the automation. But even at the moment, it's fairly straightforward through manifests for people who have larger generative NFT series where they need a base URI followed by a unique identifier. So I think a lot of the tools already exist. It's just a question of, I guess, connecting people to the tools and the resources that they need. So I've found that you guys are actually really good at that with YouTube and just through your website. pointing out a lot of these resources. So it was actually just kind of a nice coincidence that I started working on the Dragon Turtle project with ArDrive and Everpay as the artist at around the same time that Pinata was changing its terms. And so it's not that they've eliminated the free option. It's just that it's a lot more limited than it used to be in terms of how many files you can actually pin and the total amount of storage. So around the same time that I realized that I wanted to switch to something that's pay once, store forever, where I don't have to worry about changing terms of service. I don't have to worry about an expiring credit card or a price jack that then means that I'm scrambling to save my NFT collection. Really, to protect my collectors, protect my holders, I needed to find a permanent solution. And I think ArDrive is very well positioned to do that.
It's about mass adoption, right? And making it feel like the tools are there.
I just did a Twitter post just for the very simple task of moving a small collection without using manifests or anything like that. And then I also posted that in a few different artists collectives that I'm part of through Discords. And I had a handful of people reached out to me actually and had questions. And I was able to point them to the ArDrive Discord and different tools. And I had at least, I'd say 3 or 4 artists recently convert their collections from IPFS to Arweave. So that's been rewarding as well, just to see them. And they've all been super impressed with the speed of it. I mean, the speed once, you have to be patient getting the file sufficient block confirmations to confirm that it's stored. But once you have it there, it's just so fast compared to anything that I'd seen before. So that makes a big difference with a lot of these 3D artists using animations and MP4 videos for their NFTs. Those sorts of files used to take, with IPFS, a lot longer to load for the marketplaces and whatnot. So it's made a big difference for them. And even for those who have smaller collection in terms of the actual amount of storage that they require, it's nice to know that you're paying once and it's upfront. And for me, I think I paid 35 cents US or 25 cents US, something like that, for my existing collection.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good forever versus like potentially paying, $20 a month or whatever it is.
Yeah. Thank you for doing the Twitter thread. I remember that was very helpful and it got a lot of engagement because people were like, oh, there must be an easy way to do this. This guy's done it. When did you first start drawing and who are some of your favorite influences?
I actually hadn't drawn for about a decade until really NFTs drew me back into artistic pursuits. So I had pretty much, I'd always been artistic growing up, and in high school, I would get in trouble. I have distinct memories of teachers, getting really mad at me because I'd be drawing instead of paying attention in class, or I'd have like my sketchbook out and I'd be doing this intricate drawing, and they would, they were mad because it was just so blatant that I wasn't paying attention. But when it came to my academic life, I decided to go first to a liberal arts college. I got a BA and studied, philosophy and literature. And then I went to law school, and the last, 10 years of my life were just focused on building up my law career and working really hard at that. But when I got into NFTs this past January, I met some really cool artists and they were so supportive. And something that's unique about lasting NFT communities is that there's really no gatekeeper, or you have direct access to the people whose art you're collecting. So I would go and watch live streams by these amazing artists, many of whom are from Australia, halfway across the world and I'm watching them put together a character. And then I'm thinking, well, I would love to try to get back into creating characters and doing art and cartooning and all that stuff that I used to enjoy doing. So I just started doing it and kind of showing them my progress. And they just kept saying, just keep at it. Just put in more hours, put in more time. Don't give up. You gotta, I think at that point, it's about shedding some of these artificial, dichotomies that we have between artists and collectors. I feel like every human being is an artist, whether we like it or not. We each have ways that we need to express ourselves. We have needs associated with that. We have different ways of doing it, but we each have that artistic potential. And so I just kept working at it harder and harder, putting in, at first only a few hours into a piece, and then eventually 15, 20, 30 hours into a single piece to see where I could take it. And at that time, I decided that I wanted to explore rubber hose animation style, which became popular kind of in the 1920s and 1930s. You think about, Betty Boop, Felix the Cat, Mickey Mouse, Scrappy. There's endless examples from that era. It kind of grew out of comic strips. It became the first distinctive animation style. And so I drew a lot of inspiration from that era. And something that's really fascinating about that era is that it blends together a bunch of really, it wasn't all about entertainment. It's not really even designed to entertain children, which is what we think of now when we think about cartoons. There's a lot of darker themes, a lot of adult themes. Some of them are scary. There's tons of these shocking transformations, and they're playing with some really dark concepts sometimes. And I think a lot of that comes from the era in which they were created, it being, the Great Depression, and and also the musical influence of swing jazz and big band music and whatnot. So I try to draw a lot on this rubber hose era. I think it's really fun. It's had a bit of a revival with modern video games like Cuphead and Bendy. And then also the name of my main collection is Tar and Sugar. So that draws inspiration from the Tar and Sugar era of classical animation, which is just after the rubber hose era. So that would be sort of in the 1934 to 1937 with the creation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And you have these classic films that are both, they have moments of darkness and they're just utterly terrifying, followed by moments that are sweet. And so it highlights all of the ups and downs of human experience, which is what my overall artistic vision is, to try to draw upon all of it, right? The good and the bad, to combine those and fuse those elements together. So it's hard to describe it in words, but that's where I try to go with my Tar and Sugar pieces.
That's the animation style from the 30s?
Yeah, so Tar and Sugar is used to describe historically the golden age of Disney filmmaking from sort of 1937, when Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is released, all the way up to like Bambi in 1942. And that era it's considered to be the best of Disney, and also the era that really captured that ability to move between comic and dramatic or more kind of horror themes in a single film, which you don't really see with a lot of the later Disney movies. So and when I just had that in my mind as a really cool name for a collection, and it captures what I'm trying to do with the art, which is to be able to explore like cute, fun characters, but also scary, darker themes in the same piece. There are a number of spooky short films that Disney produced, and also the Fleischer Studios with Betty Boop. I think one of my favorites is Snow White, which has a soundtrack by Cab Calloway, a really nice jazz soundtrack. And there's also the Swing You Sinners, which is another bimbo / Betty Boop kind of macabre film, short animation. And you get these sort of, stream of consciousness scenes where anything that's involved in the scene can transform into a character. And then it just kind of flows together in a psychedelic way.
Those productions were so expensive and had so many people. And I guess that's what's interesting about like the new NFT era and like the new animation and like people who create things. Like it's just you. How do you find time to design all this stuff?
I just do one-of-one art at the moment. So I create a piece. I'll bring a piece to an auction house maybe once every 2 weeks if I'm lucky, sometimes every 3 weeks. So I'm just doing it on weekends, evenings, that kind of thing. But a lot of my friends in the NFT space, they do it either full time, and they're working on larger generative collections, where they might ultimately end up with thousands of NFTs being minted and sold. But no, I don't have anybody helping me. I do also help out in the community. I help out other people's projects. And I'm really excited to be able to participate in some larger projects that way where everybody's chipping in. And I think ultimately that's kind of the future of NFTs as I see it, at least right now, is the NFT projects that will succeed are those that will create a lasting community through a fun interactive experience. Because I think what brings people initially to NFTs is that kind of sensation of opening a pack of Pokemon trading cards and wanting to see, whether you got a rare, and then maybe trading or flipping them and having fun online through just online trading and online marketplaces. But the longer you spend in the space, you realize that what it's really about is about relationships and friendships and storytelling and, kind of building a community that mutually appreciates an artist and a world and engaging in that world building exercise. And so it's not really just about owning a piece of that art on the blockchain. It's really about being able to participate in a community and have really fun interactive experience, whether it's games or quests or what have you. And a lot of this stuff just takes place on Discord and Twitter and whatnot. So it's an online, community of like-minded people who ultimately end up forging friendships together.
That's really cool. It's that idea of decentralization. Instead of one mass media company making a movie the world watches, it's a bunch of these smaller communities who create and collect and share these stories. And I think that's really cool. That's the shift in culture now. And Web3 makes that permanent. What are your favorite programs for illustrating with?
Right now, I'm just using Procreate for line drawing and for illustration. And then I recently started experimenting with pixel art as well through Pixaki, also on the iPad. So it's a very simple setup. Procreate makes it very easy and inexpensive to get started with drawing. Just the iPad Pro with the large screen, and you're off to the races. Yeah, it's super easy to get started doing it, and it's a lot of fun. And there are a lot of people online that you can chat with. And occasionally I do live streaming in different Discords where I'll be creating a piece and I'll have a handful of people watching and, just chatting and maybe giving some feedback. And then I have mentors who I send my pieces to and they critique them and I try to incorporate that. So it's a really nice community experience to start creating art in that way. And I think that's really where people will get a lot of benefit out of the NFT world, is more so in terms of developing whatever talent it is that you think that you'd like to develop, whether it's story writing, art, community building, organizing games, all those things, world building, whatever it is that interests you, there is an outlet for that. There is a community for you out there. And so really it's just about getting involved and making things happen, which is, that's the way to be active and to be pushing yourself to gain some really cool skills.
Years ago, a company had to decide you were good enough to work for Marvel or Disney or a major record label. It didn't matter if you had all these things at your house. Now you can just create these worlds on the iPad and find communities.
It's important. And I think there's even more that we're still so early in this space that there's still so much that we haven't been able to accomplish. And I've been reading about, atomic NFTs through ArWeave, where the metadata, the image, the smart weave contract, the token, everything is stored seamlessly on the ArWeave blockchain, for example. So that would be another evolution that people are already doing, but to make it more mainstream in a way with mainstream marketplaces and collectors, I think that's something that we might see. There's always more experiments. That's kind of the fun thing about it, is that we're all experimenting and trying out new things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and just learning through the downturn in the market. The people who are sticking around during the crypto bear market are the ones who are building and who are interested in gaining those skills and gaining something out of it other than money, really, because that might have brought a lot of people in during the bull market, but it's certainly not drawing people in right now. So you have to be interested in something else, and that's also a cool kind of culling mechanism that is happening. The
fact that you can do a lot with it. It feels like the early years of the internet. Is there anything, Xavi, you can talk about that you're working on, unless it's super secret?
Yeah. So there's a project that is going on called the Block Party, which is a way to get people together, collectors on both, Phantom blockchain and also Avalanche blockchain predominantly. But the Block Party is a Discord giveaway party that people are organizing just as a fun event for the community. And there's going to be a really cool mint called Hopping Chains, which is a frog themed mint by a project called Frocorion that will be both on Phantom and Avalanche, featuring a bunch of really great one-of-one artists and an opportunity to mint some of their art at a very reasonable entry point. There's going to be an auction that I'm going to be participating in through something called the Honeypot Gang, their community collection. And there's going to be just a ton of giveaways. And so that's this Saturday, August 27th. I believe it's 8:30 p.m. UTC. And to enter those giveaways, you have to mint a single Block Party token on Phantom, which is about 20 Phantom. But there's tiered entry points. So if you mint more, you can get more entries. But it's just kind of a fun event to bring people, to put some eyes on the artists, put some eyes on the community, and get people to come together for a fun event during, the market downturn. So this will be the second one. The last one was a lot of fun as well. And then this Sunday at it's 1 p.m. Mountain Time, it's this thing called Tombheads Auction House. It's their 1 year anniversary. So Tombheads is sort of the main NFT auction house in the Phantom ecosystem. And it's where all of our, best artists go to auction off their stuff. And we're having a themed anniversary auction where every piece will be somehow related to the history of Tombheads over the past year. And it's going to be a lot of fun as well. I think there's about 50 different artists participating. So it's going to be nuts.
Wow. That's very sprawling. Like the Ever Finance one you did with Dragon Turtles. I loved how you had all the background behind each turtle and the story and the philosophy around it. Like people who are listening to the ArCast who may not know about all this stuff, just be sure to follow Xavi Zedd on Twitter. It's XaviZedd. Yeah, man. Any other thoughts before we sign off? Because I know we talked about a lot of stuff, but any other things we didn't cover?
Well, I'm just excited for. I think the plan for phase 2 of the Dragon Turtles is to launch the permapunks, which are the pixelated elephant pets, as atomic NFTs. I think the only thing that's holding that back is kind of the existence of a NFT marketplace on ArWeave where people could actually trade them and use them as assets. So that's something that is exciting. I'm keeping my eye out. And if that doesn't happen, if for whatever reason an NFT auction house or NFT marketplace does not crop up on ArWeave within a reasonable amount of time, then the plan would probably be not to use them as atomic NFTs, but similar to the Dragon Turtles, to have them minted on a blockchain, whether it's Ethereum or Phantom or Avalanche, or maybe several different blockchains, and then have all the metadata and the images stored on ArWeave. But
that's
we
awesome.
are excited for this. It's going to be a fun little small collection of pixel art and true to the themes of ArWeave with the elephants. And I think it'll be a fun little collectible for people. Essentially, the reason why you need the Ethereum address is because the Dragon Turtle NFT is minted on Ethereum. It's an ERC token. So it relies on the Ethereum virtual machine. There's a contract. Each NFT collection has its own smart contract that tracks how many tokens are minted, their numbering, which wallet address they currently reside in, all transfers, everything that happens with those NFTs is recorded forever in that smart contract. So, but the metadata and the images are all stored on ArWeave instead of IPFS. And that's typically how NFT projects use ArWeave currently, is through that, having an NFT on a popular blockchain that has lots of NFT marketplaces, and then using ArWeave for storage. But in the future, there's no reason why the atomic NFTs, which are going to combine smart contracts with storage so that everything's in one place, there's no reason why that wouldn't evolve into an NFT marketplace if there's interest from the community. So that's kind of what I've been keeping my eye out for in terms of launching the next phase. But if it doesn't happen, then we'll make it happen on another blockchain.
Thank you for sharing that, man. It's awesome.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Andrew. Have a great day.
Thank you, Xavi. Great interview, great episode. Be sure to check out those exciting new NFT auctions he was talking about. And we'll see you next time with some more podcast permanence excitement. I'm Andrew. This has been the ArCast. Thanks for listening.